Hi everyone, it's Melissa from the Hug Strap. I'm here today to teach you about triad chords and just give you a general overview of how chords are made. So, as I mentioned in one of my last videos, if you've watched that, is a chord is just a collection of notes. So just to be clear, what the difference is if you pluck, let's say your C string, you've got your ring finger on your 3rd fret, and you pluck that A string, that's a C. That's the note of a C. Or if you hit any of your open strings, that's a G, C, E, A. Okay, those are all notes. But when we play them together, and I make my, I put my ring finger down on there and make my C chord, that makes a C chord. Now you might ask, what makes up a chord? How do I know what notes make up a chord? So what I wanted to go over is just the very basic theory behind it. I'm not going to go in too deeply because I want to just do these in bite-sized, videos so you can kind of digest it slowly because musical theory can be a little mind-blowing. But I just wanted you to understand how those are made and to kind of just give you some of the rundown on some of the lingo that's used, because it took me a long time to understand what the heck people were talking about. And frankly, I was a little embarrassed that I could play by ear and play pretty well, but didn't know certain musical theory terms. And I'd always just be like, yeah, I know what you're talking about. So if you're like that, watch this video. It'll help you understand just a little bit more. So first things first. If you have not already started learning scales, you should. There's many reasons why. One is that because it is really good for warming up your hand. It is good for teaching your fingers to kind of separate a little bit more and to make it more comfortable. This will help lead you to making, to fret chords that are a little bit more difficult if you already have that dexterity in your fingers. So that's why people suggest that you do it as a warm-up. If you are somebody who sings, it's great to know some scales so that you can warm up your voice while you're singing. It's also great to know musical scales, and this is why every music teacher in the world tries to teach it to you as like one of the first things that you learn, is because it lays the building blocks for musical theory knowledge later on, and this will help make you a better player. So for example, you want to know all of the notes of your C major scale because it's how we understand why chords are made. So in the C major scale, you have the notes C, D, E, F, G, A, B. No sharps, no flats, okay? So that makes it very easy to understand, and it is our foundation for everything else, okay? So once you know those, you can start learning the little bits that come with it. All right, so let's start with the C major scale. You have those notes, and every chord is built off of the knowledge of those notes. So for example, a triad chord is a chord that has 3 notes, okay? All of our major chords are triad chords. So the C major chord is just made up of 3 notes, and it's always the same 3 notes or degrees. You'll hear the word degree a lot sometimes when you're talking about chord theory, and that always throws me off because I didn't know what the heck they were talking about, but basically it just means what order in that scale the note comes in. So if you have your notes C, D, E, F, G, A, B, you would assign each of them a number from 1 to 7. So our C would be number 1, our D would be number 2, our E would be 3, our F would be 4, our G would be 5, our A would be 6, and our B would be 7, okay? So when we go to make a chord, you're going to take just the 1st, 3rd, and 5th notes or 5th degrees of the C major scale in order to make the C major chord. So that is a C, an E, and a G, okay? And this checks, right? Because you already know how to tune your ukulele. G, C, E, and then if I put my finger here, I get another C. So right, there are all those notes that we just talked about, and that makes a major triad chord for C. Now you might be wondering, how do I get all of the other chords? How do I figure those out? Okay, so this is why you need to know all of your major scales, which is not as hard as you think. I have another video about that too. So let's work with D major scale next. So in the D major scale, we have the notes D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, and C sharp. Now the numbers are going to change. So now my D is number 1, my E is number 2, my F sharp is number 3, my G is 4, my A is 5, my B is 6, and my C sharp is 7. So again, the formula is still the same for a triad chord. It's the 1st, 3rd, and 5th degrees or notes in that scale. So since I want the D major chord, I just take those notes. So it's going to be a D, an F sharp, and an A, and that's it. So again, let's make sure this checks out. We know our D chord is here, right? Okay, So if we know the notes of our fretboard, which we don't all do, but you should start trying to learn some where some of them are, just to make your life a little easier. The first note that we're going to hit is this second fret G string. So we know this is G sharp, this is A. Okay, so that checks. We know we need an A in our D major. Then we're going to place our index finger, our middle finger, I should say, down on the second fret of the C string, and that's a D. Okay, that checks. We also need a D in our D chord. That makes sense, right? It's named for that. Then we're going to go to our E string, second fret, and that is, let's see, okay, we got an E, and then if I go up here, it's an F. It's an F sharp. Okay, that's right. We needed a D, an F sharp, and an A. All right, and then we have an extra open A here too. Okay, so that makes our D chord. All right. So I should just note that it doesn't matter if you have extra notes in your chord, you know, as long as it's those 3 notes and nothing else. Otherwise, it makes it a whole different chord. But it's okay if you have 2 A's or, you know, 2 C's in your chord. It's all right. Now, one more. We're gonna do the E major scale. Okay. So most of us can't play an open position A, and I'm not even gonna try. But the collection of notes is still the same, and it makes it an E chord. So our notes in our E major scale are as an E, an F sharp, a G sharp, an A, a B, a C sharp, and a D sharp, okay? And we're gonna take the first, third, and fifth notes of that scale. So our E is 1, our G sharp is 3, and our B is 5, okay? So let's check it out. We're gonna put our fingers here for this E chord inversion. So that means my middle finger is on the G string, 4th fret, okay? So if we count up G, G sharp, A sharp, B, okay? That checks, we need a B, right? And then we're gonna put our ring finger on the 4th fret right behind it on the C string. All right, let's count up C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E. All right, that checks, we need an E in our E chord, right? And then we're gonna put our pinky here on the E string, again, 4th fret, let's check that out. E, F, F sharp, G, A. Oh, that's right, that's what we needed, okay. And now, whoops. Helps if you can put your fingers in the right place. Last thing, we're gonna put our index finger here. I'm sorry, did I just say it was an A? It's a G sharp. Just forget what I just said. I got kind of lost in it. Okay, so we're here. You've got your B, like we said on that 4th fret on the G string, an E, a G sharp, not an A, and then we're going to place our index finger on the 2nd fret of our A string, and that is for another B, and that is an E chord. All right. This is probably a lot to digest. It's okay. If you have any questions or comments and you just need a little bit more knowledge, please let me know in the comments below. And I'm going to also start going over a little more detail about how scales are figured out, which will also help with your knowledge. But basically, I just want you to understand that the chords, the major triad chords, come from the major scales. So that's why it's really important to start learning them if you want to learn how to make chords and how to figure out what the heck you do with the rest of this neck once you've learned all these open chords. You want to know your scales and you want to know where your notes are so you can start figuring it out for yourself. Okay? Thank you so much. Have a great day.